Are we live? Yeah, we should be live.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. My name is Marco Russo. Today I have Bogdan Crivat.
Bogdan Crivat, nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
I'm Corporate Vice President for Azure Data Analytics.
Yeah. Just for those of you that don't know, Corporate Vice President means is a big boss. However, I know Bogdan for I've been known Bogdan for a long time.
Years. Many years.
My horizon of the events is 3 years. Everything beyond the 3 years is beyond the horizon of the events. So it's compressed. It's compressed in a way. Yeah, it's more than 3 years. 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Then it's compressed. It's cold storage. Cold storage. And what did you do with BI and AI and machine learning?
My background is actually in used to be called data mining at the time.
Nice.
I joined Microsoft in late 20th century would be the right formulation. 1999.
More than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We say more than
3 years ago. Yes.
Exactly.
Sorry. I worked for quite a while in what is now Power BI. It was at the time SQL Server Analysis Services. And for many years, I worked on something called SQL Server data mining, which was a set of data mining, at the time, machine learning algorithms that were getting developed inside the analysis services product.
Yeah, nice.
And then in 2005, we tried for the first time to make this technology accessible to business users, to consumers, with a set of tools that were called data mining add-ins for Excel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still very fond of that because it was the first time when I realized the huge power that you can grant to business users in Excel by giving them some tools that are relatively easy to use and hide somehow the complexity of the algorithms.
And now the tool does no longer exist, or?
I think I may have been the one who retired the components of that tool. Yes, the tool does no longer exist, but many parts of that tool exist in many other products.
Yeah, Azure Fabric, I guess.
Power BI. Key influencers visual, which is it can trace its lineage to analyze key influencers in Excel 2005.
So, and just to complete the introduction, what do you do today?
Today I'm running, the organization is called Azure Data Analytics. We have the big data analytics engine. We have the engines where you should upload your data and shape them inside the Fabric system. These are Spark, data engineering, and Fabric data warehouse. And my organization also includes the Fabric AI and data science group. So yes, all of them.
Yeah, I have to say this point because many people know that I'm not skeptic. Actually, I'm an early adopter, but I don't like the hype that is not justified. Bogdan knows exactly what we're talking about. So he's not a hype person that says, oh, everything will be bright, everything will work, without having any idea about what he's talking about. He actually knows exactly what he's talking about because he wrote the code. Now you manage a team, right?
Yes.
But actually, they cannot say, oh, it takes 2 weeks when it takes 1 hour, right? Because you know the code.
They cannot say that with pretty much anybody in Microsoft.
I know,
most managers in Microsoft grew doing the job.
Oh, true. This is true. This is true. It's mostly grew up within the company. So let's start the countdown because we're close to start. Because now the topic I want to talk today to the real topics. This is just some quick introduction to get acquainted and know each other. I want to talk about the AI, yes, but starting from the ML, the machine learning. So we will take a look at the past and also some plan for the future, knowing what is happening for real, so without too much hype. And that's my goal.
So I'll try to draw a bit of a line very, very quickly from where I left Excel 2005 to where we are today. Some things are not very, very different in all these technologies. You are talking about very solid foundational mathematics that is happening on more and more powerful compute engines. Many of the foundations of what powers the generative AI, the ChatGPTs of the world today, I'm oversimplifying, but they come down to really lots of matrix operations, right?
Yeah.
And the explosion of technology is what powered more and more powerful neural networks, deep learning networks, and everything that in the end becomes the GPT, generative pre-trained transformers. Again, lots of math and lots of matrices.
But just to understand, so today everything is AI, but we started from what was called, or is still called, machine learning, which before then was called data mining, but 80% of those stuff are the same thing, are statistics, right?
Yeah.
And the LLM is based on statistics too, in a way.
Yeah, but it's a grandson of statistics in a sense. The LLM is it goes to machine learning. I mean, machine learning, what you're doing, you are applying statistics to automatically discover patterns and capture those patterns. Now, on top of this, you have a number of incredibly clever individuals which discover a way to encode words in a language into math. And it's no trivial thing, like things like embeddings and the technology. That was a breakthrough. Then somebody else discovered how to put more and more sophisticated networks to discover more and more deeper patterns that at some point we stopped being able to understand. Like, remember, 30 years ago, you look at the decision tree, you understand what a split means. You are going into a neural network, the understanding becomes a bit vague. If you are going into a deep learning network, the understanding is just not there. It's somehow the math is converging and patterns emerge, and we are not sure what those patterns are always.
That's an interesting part. But in data analytics, business intelligence, data analytics, data scientists, how much of what we should use is machine learning? How much is LLM or AI?
We shouldn't use them the same at all. Like, if we look, the LLM, what we call today AI, what is associated with ChatGPT, with Copilot, it evolved very fast, and it's a foundational technology that has the ability today to power many things that we are doing. And we'll talk in a second about that. What is still called machine learning or classical data science, or whatever we want to call it, has a very specific purpose. Again, I have data, I want to learn the answer to specific questions from my data, and then I want to be able to produce that question and produce answers again on similar data, what we call predictions. It's extremely useful. Like, once I'm looking at why a computer hard drive is failing, I can analyze data from 100,000 hard drives, and I discover that if I tilt my computer at 45 degrees while the temperature outside is above 30 degrees Celsius, it's more likely that it fails. I mean, it doesn't take generative AI, but it doesn't make it useless. It's incredibly useful, and it's a very efficient way of discovering some patterns. I'm oversimplifying. They can go into many things. But that is a science and an art and an extremely useful form of analytics that is typically done by experts who have the courage to use various tools in order to focus on such a question. Generative AI, which again more or less started in the same place, became a fantastic technology the moment it became really good at conversations. And why I believe this happened? When ChatGPT showed up, it's fascinating in many ways, but in a sense, it's almost like a party trick. Like, you are talking to a UI, which is not powered by a human, and look how coherent it is. You can ask for a joke, he's going to tell you a joke. This is, remember, Siri was like this a few years ago. Now, once you are mastering the art of using this technology to give coherent answers, now an amazing thing happens. As long as the technology has the ability to give you coherent answers, the response is as useful as your question. If you're asking, show me a plan to learn this new technology, I actually tried it. It's been fascinating. I asked an LLM at the time, I am a data engineer. How should I make more money? Very interesting question. I guess, okay, it requires a few hops. And they started telling me.
You want to raise your wage, or
I was trying to figure out
to get the promotion?
I wanted to see if it jumps from one concept to another. And it started telling me how machine learning works. It started giving me examples. And then in the end, it took me to the conclusion, if you learn this technology,
you are more
better skilled, you are better positioned on the job market. Now, this first is a coherent answer.
Yeah.
Is as coherent as tell me a joke. Yes, here is a joke. But as opposed to the former one, or to the joke one, this is extremely useful.
Yeah.
Right? It's coherent, it fits my answer, but it's also extremely useful. Now, imagine for a second that you are asking, how should I do something step by step? And because AI is like a teenager that read the whole internet, it's going to know this is how you should do it step by step. And then imagine that you are merely plugging in the tools that enables that AI to perform the steps. All of a sudden, you get somebody who builds a coherent plan and delivers on executing that.
It's like plan. The agent that we...
The agentic technology, yes, yes. So this is why, at this point, I believe that AI, implementation aside, is actually very different from what we call classical machine learning or statistics.
Yeah.
And machine learning is still incredibly useful, but AI took on a path where it can solve many other problems.
This is very clear, and in a way that's it's wonderful to have this this view that crosses the bridges between the two worlds that in reality are just the evolution of the same thing, the same technology. Even if now I think that the accessibility of the technology changes everything, because now everyone is using LLMs. Very few people were using machine learning. So if I can, so
absolutely, you're right.
So and that makes the big difference. But what's the plan? I mean, when we look forward, when I hear so much hype, usually as the best simplification I can do is that we imagine some movie where we type or write or just speak something, and magically something happens, and usually without any mistake and without misunderstanding. Perfect. It's a movie, I know, but so going there, what do you see? What's the plan for the adoption of the AI from your point of view, and where AI alone can solve the problems, or in reality, it's a little bit blurred. It's a bit we have something, but we still have other technologies. What is do you see? Can you make a roadmap of what you think that can happen? Because probably nobody knows. But
may I give you a bit of a roadmap within my world?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know how those movies end. Like they can end up in many ways. But in the world of analytics,
that's the word that we care about, because in this channel, in this podcast, we want to look at a BI, business intelligence. So that's the kind of word where I want to understand what happens, because to me, thinking that what should I do tomorrow to increase the sales, and I had the answer. If this is really going to happen, that manager that is asking the question, is this possible? So and I don't think that this is going to happen, to be honest.
Let's go a bit step by step before we get there. Let's think about what happens in technology, what I think is going to happen inside the technology, and then maybe we figure out together what's going to happen with the consumers of technology. So what I think is going to happen in technology, we have invested as a civilization, I mean here, about more than 50 years, since 1970 or so, thinking about how to look at a column of numbers and aggregate it properly. 2 columns if you want to group by. And we developed some pretty efficient ways to do that. Vertipack is one of those, for instance. I know a bit more intimately how that works.
He wrote part of the
But the point is that at that time, when we were working on this, and you know that this is happening across all the industry, we spend lots of time to minimize the amount of compute time that is spent on each cell that we are aggregating there, right? So that means that we ended up with some pretty good, efficient technologies for that particular job. The purpose of analytics, at least until that manager that you mentioned is completely replaced and nobody cares about aggregations anymore, is still to perform aggregations efficiently, right? I do not believe that fundamentally a matrix multiplication system, amazing as it may be, it's a better way to do the aggregation over a column. It could. It doesn't mean that it can't. It can do anything. But I still believe that at some point somebody is going to say, why should I pay so much power, not even anything, to use a sophisticated system to add some numbers. When I have these engines they're cheap in comparison. So I believe that the core engines for doing analytics are there to stay for the future as much as I can foresee. So now,
sorry, this is important. We have a job.
I don't know. I talk about the engines.
Right? The engine. Sorry. Like,
let's not extrapolate.
Oh
my data warehouse engine has a future. About us, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Let's keep it.
Okay, good. Let's move on.
The next step. Engines are not easy to use. You need to learn DAX. One of the reasons that you are very successful is that you actually spend a lot of time learning DAX. Teaching also, but that means that the people who are learning from you are spending less time than you spend in order to learn.
Hopefully.
So now speaking about our future. Now imagine that you are asking a question in English and the system has the ability to shape the query properly. I'm not saying that it is there, but figuring out how to solve many such problems, how to author a query, how in general to harness the best analytical engine for a problem, seems like the kind of job that AI is going to do splendidly well, and seems like the kind of problem that can be really, really improved for the user. So what the future that I see, that I'm trying to build, is a future where we have analytics engines because they're very efficient in what they're doing. We use AI to convert users' intention as closely as possible to an optimal statement, and then we try to basically serve the user better by empowering them to use these engines. That's what I believe I see happening. That's what I'm trying to build as well.
So in other words, you're saying, let me try to rephrase. So we do not replace the technologies that we have. We better coordinate and use them thanks to the use of agent LLMs and maybe something else we still don't know, but it could be based on the same building blocks of the technology that today built the LLM.
Yes, and the way I'm thinking, because we were discussing about AI having the conversational ability of creating a beautiful plan, but then you need agents to do the actual work. Executing a query is an agent job.
Yep.
An analytical engine can be a perfect agent to do one part of the task.
Yep.
That's how I think, yes.
Which means that there is still space to build other components that could be not easy to use for a human today, but could be potentially useful for an LLM tomorrow, for example.
Yes.
I'm just trying to find a job.
So let's try to find a job. If we use the engines that we have today, chances are that, those engines, for instance, are designed to work beautifully on a star schema.
Yeah.
At the stage of AI today, AI can produce excellent queries. If your data is not properly modeled, well, guess what? The engine is not going to work on that. The other thing is that human language is ambiguous.
Yes.
People need instructions for AI. It takes a person who understands the potential ambiguities in a question to provide the right instructions either to the human manipulating the AI or to the AI itself. Yeah. And in order to understand the potential ambiguities, you need to think a lot about the analytic space and what the users may ask. And at the end of the day, by learning DAX or SQL or Python to do data analysis, you're doing the same thing. You need to think through these problems and figure out a way to solve them. Now, if you express your solution in DAX, SQL, Python, I know that not everything in SQL can be expressed in DAX, I know this. But all in English, you still need to find a way to express this. And this still takes the thinking. So this is probably the job for humans. This is thinking carefully through how to, for humans like us who are building analytic products, how to disambiguate, how to make the request from the business users be flawlessly implemented by the AI. I think that's an opportunity for us. And I think specialization is going to allow us to do less boring things and more interesting things.
That's totally, it was not prepared, but actually I think the same about the data modeling in particular, because many people think that data modeling is not important, but data modeling disambiguate what you have usually in the source data, and that if you don't do that job, the problem is orders of magnitude more difficult for anything, a human or an LLM. So,
and it's more costly when you move to the agent execution.
And that that part is many people tend to forget that they just throw money on the hardware, but there is a limit. I mean, we cannot just increase the data center at an infinite for an infinite amount to do something that
costs to run something.
Exactly
To cost less.
Exactly, because we already have engines that are relatively economic in terms of data analytics. Power BI is very, very efficient from this point of view. And not using them, it's just a nonsense. I completely agree.
Now, one interesting that is for us to figure out, and the jury is still out. I don't know the answer here. I think we are going to discover it together in the next few years. We agree that we need data modeling in order to make AI more powerful. Does data modeling for humans and LLMs mean the same thing? I frankly do not know the answer.
That's a good question. Yeah. That's a very good question. We don't know the answer. But as long as we continue to use or to orchestrate existing technologies, we still have a few constraints. I guess that the idea of using a dimensional model in general, it's a way to simplify the model of the business or of a process to a human, but it's also a way to organize data in an efficient way for the algorithm. So it serves two purposes, and that's the reason why I don't see it's going. I don't see going away from this for a long time, because this is my perception, other proposal I have seen simply don't work as well as what we have now.
Again, keeping in mind that I grew up in the same world that you are teaching about, it's hard for me to disagree with you. I actually fully agree with you. What I believe is not that it's going to go away. What I believe it's going to get richer. The way I'm looking, probably like 90% of business data ends up in some sort of Power BI reporting technology. Probably 90% of the world's data is never considered business data because it's unstructured. It doesn't fit. So sure. I believe that what we have on dimensional modeling is rock solid. And I think we are going to need to stretch our minds and figure out a way how to extend it to things that are audio recordings or other things. Because again, we've done this in BI to some extent. Remember, we take verbatims, we do sentiment analysis, and we make it a numeric column that we can aggregate. That's good, but you may ask many questions from verbatims, not only what is the sentiment. This kind of integration, and again, keep in mind that AI can manipulate any tool, right? Can manipulate the foundation models that we have in AI Foundry that can extract sentiment, can find keywords, whatever. So imagine that you are operating with many, many more powerful tools. Semantic modeling becomes what we have plus more. That's what I think is
not to change the conversation, but because we want to stay on time, but this is a little bit what we said at the beginning. Who is going to benefit more? For example, I give so today I have I use LLMs very often for several reasons: personal productivity, getting ideas, and also to see the state of the art when it comes to something that I will not use because to me is not improving my productivity, but I want to know where they are, right? I always say, for example, for a DAX, as long as I don't see good quality SQL generated by LLMs, I don't even look at DAX because it's impossible they can generate good DAX. And I can say that there is an improvement, but as a pro, let's say as a pro, I mean as a consultant that knows SQL well enough, I know that if I have a very long SQL query to write, I ask ChatGPT or Copilot to write it, but I know how to write the prompt. I know how to properly provide all the information that are needed to create that query, which is something that many people may not have. And second, when I look at a query, I immediately spot the mistakes that I can fix. And overall, I save time. So even if I had to write a relatively long script, but it is shorter than the query I generate, and I don't have to pay attention to many small details of the syntax that usually are taken care of by the code generated by the LLM. So the question is this technology going in general, not just the LLM, but in general, the technology we want to apply, the AI we want to apply to data analytics, is going to benefit more the beginner, the person that doesn't have the skills, or the pro that will optimize the productivity. So I don't know what to do, I can do something, or I already know how to do that, but I want to do it faster.
Did you learn Python?
Did you learn?
Did you learn Python?
Not much.
Did you try the Copilot in notebooks?
Yes.
Did you generate interesting Python code?
I didn't try it much, but yes, I know that it generate good Python, like it could generate other good languages.
So what I mean is that if you don't know a language at all,
Yeah.
I think this technology is fantastic to get you started. Absolutely fantastic. Because first, most of us learn by similarity. We can take an example. Once we get an example of something, it's easier for us to modify.
Yep.
Now, you have something that can give you any example you want in any language.
Yep.
And if you are a bit confused about how to modify it, it can also help you there. So I think the beginner has a lot to learn from this. I think this applies to DAX. So somebody who never ever tried DAX, they're going to get a formula. It's not the best. It may not be the best implementation, but they're going to get much more than. I mean, if you start DAX, it looks like SQL,
or Excel, depending on the point of view.
Excel. Excel. I meant Excel. I meant the functional.
Okay.
Now, if you're coming from Excel to DAX, it takes about 5 minutes to realize that. Hold on, it's not Excel, right? That's where LLM can help you. Now let's go to the pro or the expert. Okay. I'm looking at it slightly different than from a language perspective. I'm listening to people speaking for a few decades, for more than 3 years. So arguably, I developed the skills of actually listening to when people are speaking. I think most of us have done this, right?
Okay.
I miss a meeting, right? If I miss a meeting, typically I can watch the recording. It takes me 1 hour, and based on what we described, I'm an expert in listening. We just established that today for more than 3 years. Yeah. Now I'm looking at the thing in Teams that is summarizing the conversation and giving me the highlights, and parsing all the value of the meeting takes me far less time than listening to the conversation. Although, based on experience, I have decades of experience in listening to conversations. So what I'm trying to say is that I see that even for a person who's skilled and spent lots of time doing a certain thing, and they can do it probably very, very well, the AI can actually help in a fantastic way. I believe that for an expert, let's go now to analytics and to DAX, because the Teams example is a bit a stretch. Not everything that you do requires all your brain power. Yes, some things require more careful thing, but you can start up with, let's say, give me a formula, and you are going to get a pretty hefty amount of code being generated for you. And modifying that is always simpler than writing it from scratch, if only in terms of typing. So I think the expert is going to be helped by removing the tedious part of their jobs, by removing the part where they need to just do the job. I believe workflows can be easily removed from the life of people. I believe automation, we have a lot of technology that can do automation. Well, the problem is that somebody needs to automate something. AI can be the agent that is automating other things.
Yeah.
So this is what I believe is going to benefit the expert. Now, it also benefits an expert in doing research, because you cannot be an expert for too long if you're not learning about what's happening. And the abilities of summarization that you see with LLMs are fantastic. They can give you a very good highlight and where to go from.
That I have to say, that is impressive. That is the part of the LLM that, as of today, I use more.
Yes,
so it's no doubt. Despite the possible mistakes, for example, we keep track of our meeting, and we look at it, and I know that sometimes something is not accurate, but the time I save, I know, okay, the 1, 2, 3, okay, we fix this in a comment, in an email, in a follow-up, but it saves so much time.
I honestly believe it's going to help the beginner as well as the expert, but in different ways, in very different ways.
I get it. So final take. I have to say you are more optimist than I was used to hear from you. Not that you are realist, in my opinion. So you don't tend to increase the hype of our technology, and so I was expecting or hoping maybe
more skeptical.
Something skeptical. Let's say that sometimes my skeptical reaction is something necessary to balance the overhype that exists in certain communication in general. I'm not talking. Yeah, don't worry. We can extend a few minutes. It's. I think that there is a way to stop this. People don't hear that, but there is. This is doing. Yes, this way. Okay. You do a click and it stops vibrating. I was saying. Now I lost my.
You're saying that you expected me to be a bit more.
Yeah. Yes, because I have to be. Yes, I tend to be skeptical, not because I'm really skeptical, but because I have to balance the overhype, right?
And tell you what,
do you? Yeah.
It's going to sound like a product pitch, and I apologize for this. I really do not.
No. I don't think so. I don't think that the last thing that you did is a product pitch.
This one is going to sound like, but that's not really the meaning here. I spent the last year being very heavily involved in what is called AI skill, and I worked on it.
Okay.
I work with my engineering team. I work with the customers, and
just not to do promotion. AI skill is a feature of Fabric.
Yes,
right?
It allows you to convert a natural language question to many Fabric engines, and I had the opportunity to speak to customers who want this feature, customers who told us how to make this feature useful for them, and I came to appreciate the immense benefit that such a feature has for those customers. I came to appreciate how the business user, as much as infatuated we are with the analytics that we are building, Power BI, data warehouse, whatever, business user doesn't care. They say, just give me the answer. I admire what you are doing. Do what you want there. More power to you. Just answer my question quickly because my boss is asking me something. Well, if you imagine what happens today. I'm asking a question in Power BI in a report. How about this? Well, it's missing. You need to spend a few days to add a new column or a new table, or you need to ask somebody else who has access to other data. And you have something like the AI skill. It's going to take your question and it's going to find the answer. Is it in Power BI? Is it in Custo? Is it in Data Warehouse? Doesn't matter. We'll give it to you with a justification. This is fantastic. It's life-changing for people. We are talking about people who have deadlines. So I've been emboldened, if you want, in my optimism about this technology by the huge benefit that I see we can actually offer our users with it. It's not just somebody who's going to replace people or is going to. It's something that is going to really empower people, be more agile. So this is why I'm a bit more optimistic.
Great. I actually receive part of this optimism. I look forward to try once more a few things that still didn't convince me yet, but of course I see the advancement in many things.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.